The way I'm viewing my Final Four is pretty much how everybody else is doing it. Once again, it's so early to take those leaps, so to speak. Obviously, last year I kind of struck gold on Florida, but I also remember picking teams like Alabama and Duke, and I chose Houston. I chose Gonzaga in there as well. So you're going to make a couple flops, obviously, in the preseason stuff. That said, I feel more confident about this Final Four this year than I feel about last year's Final Four. I have Purdue, which is to be expected. I have Houston, and I have St. John's. The big one for me, I guess, the Florida candidate is Michigan State this year. I really feel that Cohen Carr and to some extent Jeremy Fears and Jackson Kohler are going to have breakout seasons, particularly Carr. I think Carr could be an All-American this year. He will likely be the main ball handler for this team. And Izzo just missed an Elite Eight, sniff an Elite Eight by a guy like him, and you don't expect him to not go back for it. And then some. He's already said on record he doesn't like going to the Final Four as much, but I know for a fact he's going to try and make it back. This is likely going to be one of, if not his last full year as a coach, and I just don't know how you can leave out Michigan State for this long. They haven't made a Final Four since that 2019 season, and Izzo has been on the come up recently. I liked last year's team a lot. They were once again very underrated, and this year feels better than last year. So if you're going to put it in that way, I do think Michigan State has a great Final Four, maybe even national champion upside. That said, I'm going to leave Houston as my champion. I had them there before, and I'm keeping them there now. Pretty similar to Izzo. You just don't leave Kelvin Sampson out of any picture. He just made his first natty. He probably could have and should have won that game, but I think he knows what he's doing. I think he knows all the tricks that he needs to get back there, and I don't think there's going to be a Walter Clayton to really stop him this time. So it's probably his game to lose right now.
Yeah, and my Final Four picks honestly do not stray very far at all. Really, that fourth team is the only different pick that I had. I have Purdue, Houston, St. John's as three of the teams in my Final Four in that last kind of like to playoff year. Florida pick last year and your Michigan State pick right now. I have Illinois. I have Illinois outside my preseason top 10, but I definitely feel like I could already see the narratives in the media surrounding or just highlighting all the international players which we're going to see play college basketball this year and how this really started to become a big thing for programs to target in their offseason portal cycles and whatnot. And I just think that's going to be highlighted by Illinois and how the Balkan Five play out in Champaign this next year. I really think they're a lot deeper than what they were this past year. And I think Brad Underwood really might strike gold here. I mean, he kind of already has the last 2 years with international prospects. This past year with Kasparis Jakuchonis, 2 years ago with the likes of Marcus Damask. Visage has already been a good player for them, and now they have his younger brother, Big Z. Big Zavonimir Visage coming in to play the four spot next to his big bro. Of course, they got other guys. They're bringing back Kylan Boswell. They got I don't know how I always blank on this guy's name. Andre Stojakovic, yeah, he's going to be a really big player in the Big Ten this upcoming season.
He's super underrated, I think. He could also
Most definitely. And I think it was due time that he stepped up in a level and played at a legit high major school. I mean, not to slight Stanford and Cal in any way, shape, or form, but let's be honest, he's too good of a player to be playing at a school like that out on the West Coast. And I think now it's time he gets to show the rest of the country how good he really is. And I really do like the way this team is shaping out to be. Now, I know they can, but I don't think they'll roll out the full Balkan starting five, just considering Boswell is going to be there. Will Riley's running back again, too. So that stuff, he's going to definitely compete for minutes. But I really like what Brad Underwood's built going into this next season. So that's going to round out my Final Four. I think this is a good point to transition over to our updated preseason top 10. I have Purdue number one. Actually, before I get to that, I forgot to throw my national champ. I also have Houston. I very much feel there's no team in the country that I trust more than Purdue going into the season, but I definitely think they'll make the Final Four, and I think they will make the national championship game. But the thing that worries me the most is that I worry about the athletic limitations of their starting five. But just between Braden Fletch, TKR, I assume Oscar Meyer will probably be in the starting lineup along with the likes of Oscar Clough or Omer Meyer, not Oscar Meyer. Omer Meyer with Oscar Clough at the five. But again, there's just like you're missing the Lance Jones kind of piece on this team, a guy who's a lockdown defender and brings a lot of athleticism, which I think CJ Cox could potentially compete for a starting role just because of that. He brings a little more athleticism than the rest of those guys I just mentioned. But again, that kind of worries me a little bit. They don't have a true lockdown guy defensively on the wing or the perimeter. And I worry about how they're going to handle matches when they have a dynamic guard, or wing that they need to shut down. And I think Houston, I think the one thing that you could point to as their weakness this past season was their lack of talent. And they have a surplus of talent now with the 5 5 stars, which Calvin Sampson landed in recruiting, which are going to be playing their first year of college basketball out in Houston. And I mean, I like what they've brought terms of brought back in terms of their continuity. They're bringing back Joseph Tugler. They're getting Emmanuel Sharp back, who I'm sure is going to have a huge chip on his shoulder, just considering him kind of messing up that last play that Houston ran in the national championship game. And if they get Miles Uzan back, which me and Josh, I believe, both think he will be running back in Houston, then that's going to be huge to have him running the point, bring a lot of veteran leadership, which they're going to need considering how much youth they have on this team. Like I've talked about already, I worry a little bit just with the freshmen. A lot of times these 5 star freshmen come in and want to be on ball a lot, and the reality is that they're not. There's going to be some of those guys who probably end up a little unhappy. And if Kelvin Sampson can manage that and balance the talent he has in the youth, combined with what he's bringing back in the veteran leadership, the culture that they've already built in Houston, then I think Houston's going to be really, really good and probably my pick to win the national championship.